Hey Reddit, I'm Josef Newgarden, and I'm here to answer all your questions. I promise I haven't seen all of them. No, I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen any of these questions. I promise. I didn't even know Brian posted this. Obviously, Brian was the one that posted this. I haven't seen him.
Which Penske driver on the NASCAR side would you like to see in an IndyCar?
Ryan Blaney, 100%. I think Ryan really wants to drive an IndyCar. I know he wants to do a seat swap, so he'd be top of my list. I think they'd all be interested in it. I know Brad's driven one at Road America, but I think Ryan would probably be the most interesting to swap with.
So let's say you're entering the Baja 1000. Who do you want in the car with you for the entire race? Simon or Will?
1,000% want Will. I don't know how you could not choose Will. Will is great for so many different reasons. Entertainment value, like if we get stranded out there, I 100% want Will. I don't know if he's the most savvy. I mean, he's a very smart person. I don't want to diminish Will's capabilities. Simon would be very capable. He's really good. He would know off-road stuff, but I would just want Will there. For comedic purposes the whole time. I just would feel better about life having Will the entire time with me.
So speaking of Will, what happened to the push-up challenge?
Will just didn't, I don't know, Will gave up on this push-up challenge. I've told him here's what happened. Will got on a push-up kick at one point and was like, I'm really good at push-ups. I've gotten super strong in them. I can do as many as possible. I could do 200, 300 in a row. And I'm like, that is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. I don't know anyone in the world. I'm sure there's people are going to put some links up of incredible push-up challenges. I know Will can't do 200 push-ups in a row. So I was like, I bet him this absurd number. I was like, if you could hit, I don't even know what it was. I think it was 400 in a row. I'd pay him like $10,000 cash, 100%. I mean, I would. If he could do that, that would be unbelievable. And so then we had a timeline on it. He was supposed to do it by St. Pete. Obviously the pandemic happened, so that kind of ruined it. But here's the thing: Will can't even do 100 in a row. Okay, I don't even know if I can get 100 in a row, like perfect form. So it just kind of fizzled out. But someone should hammer him about that. He just never responded. I even put the challenge out there, and he never responded.
What's one on-track battle that you've had that you still relish and look back on?
I mean, honestly, I think that Simon battle at Gateway was one of the most intense ones I've had in IndyCar, just because of what it was, and it certainly helped us win a championship that year. I think those points were vital. If that pass wasn't successful, we would have had to do something different in the races. So you can never tell, was that the defining moment for our 2017 championship? I think it was helpful. But it was just it was an intense battle. And I wish we had more moments like that, but it's hard to create them. They have to be organic. You never know when they're gonna pop up. I think there's always opportunities for close racing like that, but I thought that was a pretty good battle at the end of that race.
Who is your favorite teammate you've ever had?
Favorite teammate I've ever had? I've had some good ones. I really enjoyed my time with Elio. Elio, I think is, a lot of people think from the outside that Elio puts on this act and that he's like over the top just for the cameras, but that is Elio. That's Elio to a T. Like if you get to know Elio and spend time with him, he's very positive, has amazing energy, just really fun to be around whether you're at the track or away from it. So I enjoyed my time with him. He's one of my favorites. I don't want to say he's my favorite. I don't know that I have one, but he brought an energy that I really enjoyed, and I think he's one of the best I've seen.
If you could choose one track each from the F1, IMSA, and NASCAR calendars to add to the IndyCar schedule.
One track each? One
track from each calendar.
Okay.
Which tracks would you add?
Okay. NASCAR would be, Bristol, 100%. Let's run IndyCars at Bristol. Not on the dirt. Well, maybe on the dirt. Who knows? No, it would never happen. Straight up Bristol and IndyCar. IMSA, you said? IMSA, I don't know. I mean, we go most places that they go. I'd do something crazy like Sebring, I wasn't even in that recent race, so I don't know how that went with the IndyCars, the online race they did. Probably Sebring? I love Sebring. I was going to say Daytona, but I don't know. Daytona would be fun. Any of them would be fun. I would put either Daytona or Sebring. And then where was the third one? F1?
F1.
Oh, Suzuka. Hands down, we need to go to Suzuka. That's a dream track of mine. IndyCars would be so awesome around that place. Plus, we'd be in Japan, one of the best countries in the world.
Obviously, you're very quick at all types of tracks, but you seem to have a knack for finding your way to the front. What sets you apart and has allowed you to have such consistent success?
Well, I've learned many things over the years in racing. I think in IndyCar specifically at this level, there's a lot more going on than what you learn on the junior car side. You know, when you're in junior cars, it's just sprint races. It's all about the start. It's kind of all about, you know, that sprint mentality, you know, being aggressive, and you can do that all the way through the race. In an IndyCar race, you can be aggressive, and there's moments where aggression pays off, but there's such a bigger picture when it comes to IndyCar racing. I mean, it is literally about how savvy you are on strategy, and not just what the team is trying to, you know, conjure up for you. It's also how you're seeing it, how you're driving to the strategy, how the strategy's changing. It's fuel saving, which is a tie-in to the strategy component. It's tire usage. You know, that changes all the time depending on the track. I mean, you can be one thing at Texas Motor Speedway, it's a single compound, and it can be a totally different thing when you go to St. Pete and you've got 2 compounds, and depending on how they run this year compared to last year. I mean, there's so much complexity to an IndyCar race. I think the more well-rounded you are on all of those intricacies that you need, the better you can be at success. And I think with IndyCar, it truly is not about super aggressive, qualifying up front, and that's going to give you all the success in the world. It's such a complex formula now with so many variables that you can't account for that you have to be so mobile in these races now. You know, your strategy is critical. I think if you can nail that and you can understand it really well as a driver and always be reacting, that's what's going to get you up front all the time. Whether you qualified in the front or the back, like you're always going to make your way up front during the race if you understand it.
Do you know why your parents chose to name you Joseph with an F and not the traditional PH?
All right, let's start with the good things. My name, Josef, Newgarden. No one else in the world has this name. I'm pretty positive I am the only person in the world with that name. Especially if you put my middle name in there, that's definitely the only Josef Newgarden, Josef Nikolai Newgarden in the world. It is spelled with an F because my mother is Danish. So it's a little bit of a nod to my Scandinavian roots. My father is fully American, grew up in New York, then Miami. My mother is from Denmark. She was born and raised there. She came over to America when she was 18 and met my father. Actually, she was probably 19. But that's why it's spelled that way. So yes, I'm American. Yes, I have Scandinavian roots, but I was born and raised here. I like that my name is spelled differently. It's different than everybody else. Sometimes people get it confused, but that's okay.
In retrospect, how much do you think competing in Europe has helped or slowed down your career?
I think competing in Europe was very positive for my career. I think anyone that grows up in North America can benefit from that. I think probably conversely, like if you grow up in Europe and you come over to America, it could be beneficial for different reasons. I think one component is going outside your comfort zone, right? If you're an American driver, going over to Europe is a really daunting experience, especially if you're young, 16, 17 years old. It's a very different experience to go over to those countries. You're not used to what you're used to growing up. It can be very uncomfortable. It can make the pressure a little bit higher for you to perform. So I think learning to deal with those uncomfortable situations can be very beneficial to your growth as a driver. So that's why I would say it would be beneficial also for a European to come over to America to race. The good thing about Europe when you're an American driving is generally in the junior formulas, there's very good depth of talent. Not better talent, which is very important to understand, is just more talent. There's more depth to it. So instead of having, in America, sometimes we'll have these field of 30 cars and maybe only 10 or 15 are super top shelf talent. That's still good. I think the talent level is just the same as Europe. But in Europe, sometimes you'll have a field of 30 cars and 25, 28 of them are top shelf. So the depth's a little bit stronger. And that can always be positive in junior series to challenge yourself. Now, when you get to the top level, we're talking about IndyCar versus F1, I would argue depth and absolute talent is just as strong in IndyCar, if not stronger, especially on the depth side. So I'm speaking purely to the junior categories, and I think it is beneficial for a young American to go have a couple years over there.